Welcome to Thursday Debate with Taghrit Hussein here on TV International. Well, tonight it's a great honor and pleasure to have with us a very distinctive scientist, one of our scientists who are raising the flag of Egypt all over the world. I have the honor and pleasure of having with us on Nile TV and exclusively on Thursday Debate, Professor Dr. Salah Obayya. Professor Dr. Obayya has been always honoring Egypt with great titles and also international awards, the latest of which that I congratulate him on tonight is winning the AU Kwame Nkrumah Award of Excellence in the field of science, in the field of technology and innovation in Africa. And this is among the most elite prizes that are being awarded to distinctive scientists all over the African continent. Congratulations, Professor Obayya.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a great honor for us to have you. And you're always raising, as I said, the flag of Egypt high. And it is in recognition for his outstanding achievements and discoveries in the field of science, technology and innovation. Dr. Obayya's career is marked by many awards and many titles, both locally and internationally. He received earlier the fellowship of the largest engineering complex in the world, and in 2019 he received the Order of Science and Arts of the First Class handed to him by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and that was on Science Day, a great memory for him.
Sure.
And Dr. Obayya, always the feeling of being awarded and comes in appreciation of an outstanding career, definitely leaves an impact on a scientist's life, isn't it?
Of course. I would like first to thank you so much for hosting me today in your really widely seen program, Daily Debate. Of course, as you have just mentioned, honoring a scientist or anyone in his field along the way of professional career is leaving not only great moments at the emotional level, but actually it gives him a great push in order to deliver and do much more. And also reflects positively on the team working with him. And I don't want to leave this opportunity without actually thanking so much my dear team who worked with me in the last 9 years at Zuhail City of Science and Technology. The people who started the journey with me at Zuhail City in order to establish a Center for Photonics and Smart Materials, which is believed now, not my opinion, my humble opinion, but actually the opinion of international scholars. Yeah. They are ranking the Center for Photonics and Smart Materials, CPSM, as one of the most prestigious centers of photonics, not only in Africa, but Africa, Middle East, and internationally. I would like to thank them sincerely, and also would like to thank my partner who have endured a very tough life over the last 25 years with me.
Definitely, yes. This is a great honor and a great achievement, Professor Salah. And maybe we will make it quite clearer also to our viewers, because you've mentioned more about photons. So let us tell them more about the center and about the orientation concerning the center, the message it delivers, yes, and its work.
Yes, it works. And at this moment, I do want again to leave this opportunity without bringing in some very dear memories to myself and to my team as well. That was in June 2012. I cannot forget this day. It was 20th of June 2012 when I met first the late Nobel laureate Dr. Zuhail. And at the beginning, I was scheduled to stay with him or to meet him for only 30 minutes. And luckily, I managed to extend it to about 4 hours. Most of them was about discussions about science. His discoveries in lasers and femtoseconds is unparalleled. Actually, he likes so much my research that I have conducted in the field of photonics when I was chair professor then in the UK. And he offered me at the end of this 4 hours long discussion to come immediately and join the Zuhail City of Science and Technology and start the journey. And with some difficulties, I persuaded him to start the journey in August 2012. So actually, this was a cornerstone in my professional life. when I decided all of a sudden, after 4 hours of staying with Dr. Zuhail, late Dr. Zuhail, to leave UK and come back to Egypt and start this interesting journey that actually I got to be honest with myself. I never ever dreamed to achieve what I have achieved in the last 9 years any other place without being in Egypt and at Zuhail City in particular. This is about the beginning of the center. If you would like me, please, to explain to the viewers what is photon and what is photonics.
Yes.
Photon is the main building block of light. When I'm talking about light, we actually, from the physics point of view, we can classify light or can categorize light into two broad groups or categories. One of them is its natural sources of light like pulse, sun rays, and so on. And the other category of light, which is laser, that we are fabricating and producing at labs. Mm-hmm. What is the difference between them? A difference is the relationship between photons. Mm-hmm. In the laser sources, the photons are what we call it physically coherent. Coherent that they are walking in phase, walking at the same speed, walking at the same, traveling at the same phase, and so on. So the light produced by laser sources is extremely intense and very strong that we can use it in many other applications. Unlike the natural sources of light like bulbs, sun rays, and so on, photons are not such coherent. That's why the light intensity coming from these sources is not so strong. This is about physics point of view, how the light interacts with the material, with matter, at micrometer scale, which is 1 over 1 million of meter, or at nanometer scale, which is 1 over 1 billion of meter. There is lots and lots of fascinating phenomena that we can find out and discover at this extremely low scale. This is from physics point of view. But from the interaction of photons or photonics and the smart materials, we can find quite wide range of applications that we cannot miss any daily application in our life without photons having a fingerprint there. So actually from laser sources, as I have mentioned, biomedical sensor, environmental sensors, solar cells, optical computing, so many applications that we can talk for hours and hours about.
Yes, we can talk for hours and hours about photons, and we can also talk for hours about the criteria upon which came the choice, and also building, what does it take to build an international reputation in the area of science, and especially green nanophotonics that has been acclaimed and has been given a tribute worldwide. The upcoming report is going to highlight more about the prize that Professor Obayya has clinched concerning how the African Union chose him in order to receive the Kwame Nkrumah Award. And I will talk to Professor Obayya also about the criteria of the choice of this award just after following this report. Let's watch.
A few days ago, the Egyptian Minister of Higher Education congratulated Dr. Salah Obayya, director and founder of the Center for Photons and Smart Materials, and the former academic president of Zuhail City of Science and Technology, for winning the Kwame Nkrumah Award for Excellence in the field of basic science, technology and innovation in Africa. The Kwame Nkrumah Award is the first and most important in Africa in the field of science, and it was officially announced on February 26th at a ceremony organized remotely this year due to the repercussions of the corona pandemic. The award, which bears the name of the Ghanaian president Kwame Nkrumah, was given by the African Union at the continental level to two worlds, one in the field of life, earth sciences and innovation, and the second in the field of basic science, technology and innovation. According to the data provided by the African Union, the goal behind the award is to honor scientists from among the citizens of the Union who demonstrate excellence in research related to the developmental needs of the continent after achieving remarkable achievements through the number of publications, the number of graduate students, as well as patents. With the ability to practically implement their achievements in meeting Africa's challenges. Obayya received the most important award this year in recognition of his extensive efforts in the field of science, which began from early days. Obayya, born in 1969 in Shirbin, the Ahliya Governorate, northern Egypt, completed his educational stages in public schools until he obtained a Bachelor of Engineering in Communication Engineering Sciences with an excellent grade from the Faculty of Engineering at Mansoura University in 1991. In 1994, he obtained a master's degree, and in less than 3 years he obtained a doctorate in 1999 under the joint supervision of his mother university and the City University of London. Salah Obayya spent 15 years in the United Kingdom, and during these years he left his mark as he was included in the academic corps between a lecturer, an assistant professor, an associate professor, then a professor, and finally a chair professor, after which he established scientific centers in the field of photons. It is noteworthy that he and the research team produced a large number of scientific publications, which exceed 500 scientific papers in scientific journals and periodicals, and 264 scientific papers, as well as international conferences, more than 263 papers, and supervised about 150 master's and doctoral theses between England and Egypt. This is more than 263 papers, and supervised about 150 master's and doctoral theses between England and Egypt. Obayya also authored 3 books in the field of photons and published them through the publishing houses of Wiley and Springer. These were the factors that nominated the Egyptian scientist to be chosen by London City University in 2015 to obtain an honorary doctorate in the field of photonics, which is usually the highest academic degree awarded by universities in the United Kingdom to those with outstanding scientific contributions in the world in their specialization. Dr. Salah Obayya's career is marked by many awards and titles locally and internationally. Last month, he received the IEEE Fellowship of the largest engineering complex in the world, and in 2019, he received the Order of Science and Arts of the First Class from President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on the Science Festival. He was awarded the title of Honorary Chair Professor in the field of photons at the George Green Institute for Electromagnetism, University of Nottingham, United Kingdom in 2019, and the State Merit Award in Engineering Sciences in 1919. In addition to the Fellowship of the American Photonics Society in 2019, the honorary membership of the Center for Theoretical Physics in Italy of the UNESCO ICTP in 2017, and the Khalifa Award for Distinguished Professor of Scientific Research at the level of Arab Scientist in 2017. Salah was also awarded the Arab Thought Foundation Prize in Scientific Creativity in Lebanon in 2015, the Egyptian Academy for Scientific Research and Technology Award in 2014, and the Abdel Hamid Shoman Foundation Award for Arab Scientists in Engineering Sciences, Jordan, October 2014. In addition to being awarded the State Prize for Excellence, Scientific Engineering Sciences in 2013, and the State Incentive Award for Engineering Sciences in 2005.
Well, as we've seen concerning the different initiatives, and as the President said that when we plan for something, we achieve it. This sense of determination, Professor Salah, and the President was talking about services, as we've seen in the promo, concerning the health sector. So the role of science and technology today to serve the medical interests of the country is very important.
Of course it is. Let me start with scientific research and higher education is not only important to the medical field, but all our fields.
Yes.
Because now we are talking about knowledge that is enlightening our life in all aspects of our life. Economy, agriculture, medical, engineering, transportation, anything now should be driven at the beginning by very thorough and careful and accurate results produced by experts doing research in research institutions, in universities, and even research centers affiliated with different ministries. And that is the central piece now that is the head of state, President Fattah el-Sisi, and the state working with him is giving top priority to scientific research, because they believe so much that without scientific research, proper scientific research, we cannot do really major and significant advancements in any field that we have witnessed, not only in the medical field, but all other fields in the last few years. A few days ago, I was just reading some articles about some indices that reflects how much advancement we have witnessed in the last 6-7 years. For example, what we call it the knowledge index, that's acclaimed and produced by the United Nations. We have jumped up in the league 10 places from 82 to 72 over the last 12 months. 10 places in just 12 months amid COVID-19 crisis, amid some economic difficulties and other difficulties. This again reflects what I always say, that the state is giving top priority to knowledge-based advancement in our life, driven by scientific research. That's reflected at the end to jump 10 places in the knowledge index. Egyptian institutions, including universities, higher education institutions, scientific research centers, and so on, are occupying the 35th or 36th, I cannot recall exactly, position worldwide in the knowledge produced every year in terms of scientific publications and non-scientific publications. We are talking here about Egypt as one of the most advanced first world countries in Europe. Yes. So this again reflects how much has been witnessed in the field of scientific research and knowledge production in the last 6-7 years.
Yes, definitely. And in the last 6 or 7 years, what has been also unprecedented is the sense of interest in the youth and putting the Egyptian citizen at the top of the priorities, providing the quality of life for the Egyptian citizen.
Sure.
Dr. Salah, talking to the youth today, what would you tell them? While we, as we have seen in the report, this long journey, and we always need inspiring models like yourself for the youth to look up to. So the story of a genius from childhood and until the Kwame Nkrumah Award, what would you tell the youth today? That did you have a dream while a child and you were able to achieve that dream? And who helped make your vision substantial?
Well, I always say we have to have, if you would like to be successful and distinctive one day, you have to have long-term plan or long-term goals with short-term plans. So since I was a child in the preparatory school and so on, I dreamed one day to be a university professor. And when I got PhD, I feel that I did nothing and I need to do more and more. And still now, I always inspire the PhD and master students working with me that whatever you have done, if we submit a paper, for example, for publication in a journal, and I found my students quite happy with and proud of what he has achieved, I thank him, and that's good, and so on. Let's forget about it and think what's next.
See what's next.
And I always say to my students, well, whatever you are doing, you have to have 3 or 4 projects working in parallel and in the same time in order to excel and do much more and get really real fruit out of what you are doing. So my advice to the young generations, you have to have determinations, you have to have plans, and never ever think that you will have an easy way to get to the success or to the successful end, but you have to have challenges. I don't want to name them or to say it is difficulties or problems. I rather say challenges, because the challenges stimulate positively our energies, our aspiration, and our determination in order to get over these challenges. And when I get over a challenge, I get higher and higher.
Yes, definitely. When there is a dream and where there is a will, there is always a way.
Of course.
And this is really important. Your collaboration with scientist Dr. Ahmed Zuwail has been a turning point and definitely a moment that you cherish,
Sure.
Professor Salah.
Sure. I just mentioned at the beginning of our program that the first meeting we have was Dr. Zuwail. Unfortunately, after this meeting, few months later, I think end of 2012, beginning of 2013, he fell ill. And what I was really amazed about this man, that even he was fighting against cancer, and this is really strong and fierce disease, that he was fighting to the end with it. He was always doing science, and interested in science, and he was always sending me new papers that he was doing at this moment of his illness and fighting against death and illness. He was sending me some papers, and I am so proud that after he died, we have completed one of his projects related to how we can use lasers and femtosecond chemistry and so on in order to image at the level of atoms and molecules and so on. And I'm so proud that when we produce these results and get published in Nature, I made an acknowledgement to his spirit, because I think one day, if he was alive until this moment, he would be so proud of what we have achieved at Zuwail City.
Yes.
Dr. Zuwail is not only a great scientist, historic great scientist, but I could say that what really exceeds the science that produced by Ahmed Zuwail is his love and sincerity to this country.
Yes, definitely the sense of belonging and love and sincerity and having a passion for what you're doing is considered to be contributing to the whole model. The field of research and scientific research and other definitive moments in your life, of course, it was a very cherished moment when you were honored by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
Well, I was honored by many places in the world, in the US, in Europe, in Egypt, and in other places, until recently when I was honored by the African Union, which is the most prestigious award that's normally awarded to one of the distinguished African professors every year. But it's still the moment that I have been granted the State Order of Science and Arts in the Science Day in 2019 by Mr. President Fattah al-Sisi. This was really, really dear and near to my heart. Well, you could be recognized internationally by many places around the globe, but when it comes to be honored by the head of state in your country, it has a different taste and it has a different impact that is really, really different from any other honor that you receive from any other place.
Yes, Egypt hosted Aswan Forum.
Oh, yes.
And it's in its second edition. We're always talking sustainability, not only in Egypt, but also in Africa. So we're talking sustainable development goals.
That's very important.
And that is very important to plan for what's next, as you were saying, Dr. Salah.
Yes, yeah.
How are we utilizing what our research in science and technology today in order to match with our aspirations for the future and our sustainable development goals?
Let me talk here about the continent, about Africa, and how science and scientific research, and Zuwail City in particular, and Center for Photonics and Smart Material is proposed to play a significant role. 2 years ago, I had been awarded UNESCO Chair from UNESCO in headquarters in Paris for sustainable development, or for use of photonics technology for sustainable development in Africa. And along these 2 years, I have done lots and lots of programs with my African peers in different African institutions. Quite recently, we started a training program at the postgrad level in order to, not to educate students, particularly lady students, not to educate them just technically about new technologies and so on, but how to create their own jobs, how to earn a job in the market, and on top of that, how to transfer to them the skills needed in order to start their own companies. So we are trying to provide them with experience and skills needed to transform their academic and research skills in something useful in the market, and this has a number of goals. Number one is it's a good opportunity, especially for ladies, in order to start their own professional careers, but also in order to keep the talents into this continent, into this Africa. And I think because of this program, the UNESCO liked it so much, the idea and the initiative, and that's why they have awarded me this UNESCO chair, which is supposed to last for another 2 years, after which I'll get permanent chair at UNESCO.
Yes, excerpts here from Science Day 2019, and the great honor being honored by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
It was a great moment in my life.
Yes, definitely.
Entire life.
A great moment in one's entire life to be honored by the President. Also for your students, for your family, for everybody. They must be very proud of you, Dr. Salah.
Sure.
Well, we were talking about the UNESCO story, the UNESCO chair in new technologies and sustainable development in Africa. What are the plans with UNESCO for the coming phase? What's next concerning utilization of your field in serving sustainability in Africa?
That's actually a good question. That actually I'm currently proposing some plans to establish really something at the continent level. Now we have the Center for Photonics and Smart Materials at the World City, and it started over the last 2 years, as I mentioned, to play a significant role into implementing UNESCO priorities in terms of sustainable development and giving priority to women in education and scientific research and so on. And I think, or I am planning after the next 2 years to start the establishment of African Institute of Photonics, AIP. I believe that Africa as a continent and Egypt and the World City is supposed to take an initiative and play a significant role into a research, industrial, and empowerment of photonics technology into the market of Africa before any other market. So what I'm trying to do, not only to do research, but try to establish strong links between scientific research in my fields, which is photonics, and industry. Yes, there is no, at the moment, there is no strong photonics-based industry in Egypt or Africa, but we hope that by starting to build up this hub between scientific research and photonics and the industry, we'll have a strong industrial base, in which case we start to have our own photonics technology made in Africa and made in Egypt in particular. So we do this by bringing back the African talents from Europe and from America and Canada and so on back to their home countries in Africa, and also by keeping the young talents, especially ladies, into Africa in order to play significant role into the establishment of this complex of photonics, which I call it AIP, African Institute of Photonics.
I'm glad you mentioned ladies, Professor, because usually it is not an easy speciality, you know, when you engage ladies in science, and we do have definitely women scientists, great women scientists here in Egypt and all over the world, but what does it take for a woman to become a scientist who is quite famous and doing good work?
Well, from my experience, as you mentioned, as it has been mentioned in the report, I have supervised almost 150 postgrad students between master and PhD. 40% of them are ladies. And to be quite honest, I found them much more committed there than, I don't want anyone to be annoyed with what I'm saying, but they are much committed than men in the field of research. But they need from the research leader to understand they have certain needs, family priorities, to listen to their problems sometimes and try to sort them out. And believe me, once you alleviate this problem and make the route easy for them to have access to labs, facilities, and so on, send them to conferences and get them interact with different schools, not only myself, but other schools of science and research in other places, they start to develop their career very quickly, and they produce much more and much better results than others. I believe so much in the capabilities of ladies, and I believe that we as a society, academic society and society in general, we need to focus more and more in giving them opportunities, and also understand they have certain needs and certain aspects of life we need to respect it.
Definitely making this important balance is is necessary. However, and inevitable as well, if we need to have good work, to have an understanding professor who can help them achieve this sense of balance. Dr. Salah, if I ask you about the most interesting research paper or maybe proposal that came to you by one of your lady students and you felt that it is going to serve humanity.
Well, there are so many, but quite recently, Dr. Shaima Muhammad, she is now a professor at Zoel City, and I'm so proud. One day she was one of my PhD students that finished her PhD 6 years ago. Quite recently, we started to work together as peers on a proposal using what we call it quantum dots in order to enhance the efficiency of solar cells. Well, so for the field of solar energy, we work on a terminology called efficiency. Efficiency means how much electricity you can get or you can be produced from a solar cell relative to how much sun rays have been hitting the solar cell. On the other hand, you can enhance the efficiency by using some sort of expensive materials like silica and silicon and so on. But what we are trying to do, we are trying to solve the difficult equation. How we can enhance the efficiency and yet we can use cheap materials from from Egypt or from any other country, cheap materials, and also enhance the efficiency. In order to solve this equation, we come up to the concept of using what we call it quantum dots, something at the very, very minor scale of atomic level or atomic scale, and we create something called quantum dots, and we use it with cheap material in order to enhance the efficiency. She is very genius. I'm so glad and so proud that she is still working with me, and I hope that this proposal will come up with really innovative solutions to some existing problems with solar cells.
Oh, yeah. That's great news, you know, that to find that a student and her professor are working together and collaborating in one project. And definitely tomorrow is better. Tomorrow is better through science and through making use of our scientific information and applying science also to take decisions based on science. And technology and innovation, like keywords in our world nowadays in order to move forwards, creativity, innovation, and definitely science. And we have many, even the soft power has been dedicated. Many of the songs that apply, like بالعلم هنبنيها, through science we will be able to build it, and we will definitely do. Let's enjoy the break. Yes, we will build it through science and through technology. And Dr. Salah, we're talking about the young always when we are dreaming for the country and meeting renowned scientists like you. So how are we preparing the young scientists for the future today, in your opinion?
That's really a very important question and a very important aspect of the, well, I'll talk about my field, higher education and scientific research. We know that 65%, 2/3 of our country population is 35 or 40 years old and younger. That's why we are a very, very young country when it comes to age. Well, I don't believe in age, but when it comes to this aspect, we are really, really young. And
it's a plus, definitely.
It is very, yes, it's plus. And we are a very future-looking country. If we can prepare these young people in order to be the future leaders and in order to lead this country in strongly and squarely into the heart of 21st century, we have to rely on new and modernized higher education programs. Again, I would like here to mention the initiative by Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi of establishing, for the first instance, 4 national smart universities. And when it comes to smart university, we mean a lot. Smart universities right from the beginning of the student selection and the selection of professors who are going to teach and do scientific research into these universities, how they will be admitted, how they will interact with the materials, not through the chalkboard sort of old style and conventional style, but through using computers, online resources. We are here transforming the teaching and learning environment from the conventional way into learning facilitation. We give the students the opportunity in order to educate themselves. We are just supervising them and monitoring the process rather than spoon-feeding the knowledge into their brains. Actually, through bringing the scientific research into the educational process, which is, we call it research-led education or research-informed education. We are not teaching our students what others have produced, but we are teaching our students what we as researchers and scientists are producing in our labs in Egypt. This means a lot, means that the students will learn eventually that knowledge has no end. They have to learn all the time. They have to update their knowledge in the field all the time. This is number one. Number two, we are also putting them at the cutting edge of the technology and science in their field. By doing that, actually, we are preparing the students mentally and by skills to be able to cope with any changes that can happen in the next few years and next few decades. We don't know exactly what kind of jobs they will appear or disappear in the future, but at least we need to prepare, as I mentioned, our students to be able to cope with the challenges that will be imposed on them one day.
Yes, more concerning also the scientists, our scientists living abroad, the expat scientists.
Of course, yeah.
They have also a very important role to play, and you yourself, Professor, had lived in the UK more than 15 years. So we do not want to lose the link. We want this link always to be there. We need all the Egyptian brains in and out, outside the country.
That's actually one of the top priorities of the new initiatives launched by President Fattah al-Sisi.
Yes.
Not only establishing smart universities and new modernized universities, but as you mentioned, this will be a golden opportunity for expat professors and experts to engage, even on part-time basis, with the education and scientific research conducted in these places. And I think here we are trying to more or less simulate the experiments or the experience in China, India, and other places that have developed quite quickly over the last few years.
Moving further to another important file, which is the transfer of knowledge and scientific research and technology for the developing countries in particular, and linking that to the project that you're working on concerning the UNESCO collaboration in Africa.
Well, let me talk about Zuwail City and how was the vision of Zuwail City of Science and Technology when it started by Nobel laureate Dr. Zuwail. We would like at that time to establish what we call a technology pyramid or technology valley, as is renamed now. Technology valley is exactly the job of this technology valley or technology pyramid to do exactly what you have just mentioned. How we can build a gateway or hub that can translate the knowledge and the results produced in the lab into the market. It's not a building. It's something that can bring in the experts from the academic side and the industrial side and business side and governmental side. All of them are under the same ceiling, and we are talking together and try to destroy all the barriers between transferring the knowledge and scientific research into industry. We need to start at very small scale. For example, when I was in England, next door to me was someone from a company. I don't want to mention the company, not for commercial reasons. But at lunchtime, we go together and have tea and sandwich and so on. And then he asked me what I have produced today. Then I mentioned some of our new results. And next day, we have a meeting with experts from this company, and we start to, let us put a project together. In a few years or so, it could be a company, a new company. Not necessarily a large company, but something that can bring in some opportunities for the young to work and engage their research findings to find its way into business and market. I think something like Technology Valley, should be and must be actually generalized in other universities, and I believe it's a masterpiece of the vision and strategy of the new smart universities that we have talked about.
Yes. What would you tell today, Dr. Salah, the youth who are thinking of devoting their lives and their career to science and technology? What would you tell them? What would be your piece of advice?
You have to have determination. You have to have long-term goals and short-term plans, as I mentioned.
Yes.
You need to work extremely hard, tirelessly, and on top of that, you have to love what you are doing. Without feeling that I really love what I am doing and what I am delivering.
Passion for what they are doing.
Yes, yeah, I have to have a strong level of passion into what I am doing. Otherwise, it will not succeed.
Yes. How can we engage the youth? The youth are engaged today in different fields. We need to attract them more also to the scientific field.
This is actually one of the missions, I believe, of university professors and academics, not only to teach students their classes.
Provide incentives.
Of course, we have to go to schools. I go to some schools and deliver some simplifying science, how to get students excited and feel, as you mentioned, more and more passion about science. So one day he would say, okay, I would like to study photonics. Why he took this decision? Because, for example, he liked what I said about photonics in the class. I go to them and explain to them about science and research, how important, and also how it can bring in, how it can get their dreams fulfilled and come true one day. Not only it's about dry subjects that we study and get into exams and succeed and so on, but it's actually a lifelong career, and it's a very nice and interesting way to achieve your career plans.
Yes. Today the whole world is fighting one nightmare, which is the COVID-19, of course, and scientists are just doing their best and did their best and even in a hurry to reach a vaccine. And many vaccines, we see vaccines all over the world are being released. The role of science and technology and the interpretation of this into a vaccine on solid grounds. How can science and technology today help us discover more about such a nightmare, namely COVID?
Yes, what you have just mentioned is a very clear, crystal clear example of the significant and vital role that could be played by scientific research and technology and so on in the crisis times.
So for science and crisis management.
Of course, well, the world has been taken by surprise. I think a year or year plus ago, when we started to discover the spread of this pandemic, COVID-19 and so on, and it was not long when we started to see some vaccines, some companies here and there, and I don't want to mention them, but this actually was due to the years and years of accumulated scientific research results and findings in the labs. That's why we have found in relatively or very short period of time at least 5-6 vaccines here and there. What would be the situation if we have COVID-19 or other pandemics and we don't have enough or a satisfactory level of scientific research conducted here and there? Actually, the whole world will be in a big mess.
Yes, and at times of pandemics like COVID-19 or whatever, do you think that people become much fully aware of the importance of the role played by science and technology?
Of course, yeah. And this is one aspect of how we can find vaccines in order to protect our lives and protect ourselves from getting infected by this nasty virus. But on the other hand, ICT has played a tremendous and significant role in facilitating our works. I mean, without 4G and 5G in ICT technology, could we work from home? Could we work remotely? Could we have internet as a tool of communication between people in Egypt, Japan, China, America, and so on, and we get our research published and so on? I think the whole life could be paralyzed without, for example, 4G and 5G in ICT. In different aspects, you will find that clearly how scientific research has shaped positively and strongly our lives.
Yes, and this is the sense of awareness that we do have today in Egypt under the leadership of the President. New Egypt is devoting and is devoting special importance today to science. And to scientists.
And smart cities.
Yes.
Yeah, smart cities, again, behind smart city initiatives, launched by
Smart
Mr.
universities.
Smart Universities, Smart Cities, Smart Life in
Digitizing
general.
Egypt as a whole,
Of course,
yeah.
digital transformation and so on. Actually, it's a big initiative launched by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and now it is taken by the government to be implemented in all its departments and administrations and so on. Over the last year, we have our universities and the education process in our universities. Well, it has been conducted in a good way. It could be in a much better way, but again, without smart technologies and without smart infrastructure that have been implemented into universities, we couldn't deliver our lectures and our labs. So
yes, it's a continuation process.
It is.
And,
it is.
And definitely, we were really happy to have you with us today, Professor Dr. Salah Obayya, the recipient of the Kwame Nkrumah Award for Excellence in Science and in Creativity and Innovation and Technology as well in Africa. And Professor Obayya will be doing a lot also in the next phase, inshallah, in collaboration with UNESCO. As we heard, many thanks, our dear scientists, for coming to Nile TV International, and we are celebrating with you this great prize. We are really always grateful to our scientists who are raising the Egyptian flag all over the world. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you much.
And I thank you, dear viewers, for joining us. Tonight we talked about science, we talked about innovation and creativity. I'm Daghrit Hussein, and many thanks for watching.